Hi, Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Thursday, November 14th, 2024. And I'm glad to be able to spend a little time with you today. I don't think this is going to be a long one, but obviously you know because you could see how long it is. If you're returning, welcome back. If you are new, welcome, however you found me. We all know there's lots of options out there in YouTube world if you are interested in seeing people stitching, and so I appreciate you coming to spend a little time with me. As always, I'm dealing with the sun coming in, where am I? From the skylight, and you will see, again, this won't be long, but it passes right here, and that's a piece of needlework. And during this time of year, it would get so sun-drenched, and I don't want it to fade, so I keep it's a pillowcase, just a piece of fabric over it. And then I usually have things standing up here, and they are laid down. And I probably said that same speech in my last video. So I just wanted a quick check-in with all of you. A couple things going on in my world, especially if you are new. I am a designer. I design under the name WorksByABC. And so some of the things I have to talk about today are very much related to that. And let's start with what I think is the most important one, which is there's a sale going on right now as I'm filming this. So I started this, I don't know when, a week or two ago. We could acknowledge the last week or so, continuing into now, has been stressful for a lot of people. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So things like remembering dates are not the easiest. But I know, so the sales, I think it was about 2 weeks is what I set it for. And it ends this coming Monday, November 18th. So from now, depending on when you're watching this, through November 18th, 20% off everything in my Etsy store. No coupon code needed. It's just a sale for everybody. It's celebrating my birthday month. And I will put a link below directly to my store if you are interested. So, and I so appreciate the uptake in sales that I've had in the last week and a half or however long it's been. It's greatly appreciated whenever you support a small business, and certainly people like me are small businesses. I love doing this designing. I love bringing out the creative side of me. The business side, not so easy to force myself to work on. But certainly when I have the opportunity to interact with folks who have stitched my designs, tagged me on a post, sent me a message on Etsy with a question, it's just been a lot of fun. So that's the first big news, which is sale. The second big news is I've got a couple of new designs. So the last time I was here, I meant to look maybe 3-4 weeks ago, was when I was releasing a unique special. It could be done any time of the year release. And actually, I'm going to circle back to that in a moment. But right now, like I said, it's November 14th. We're just about at that halfway mark of November. We are clearly past the Halloween time. And this is when I think you really start to see a lot more of the holiday stuff come out. Lots of Christmas and holiday time. Some people are doing their stitching now, or taking out their holiday decorations, which might include previous stitches. So, as I like to do each year, have a couple of holiday small designs. And the first, I'll show this one first, done on a piece of banding. Sorry, I'm setting it up here. It's called simply Happy Holidays. And so it's on a piece of banding. I stitched it on a piece of banding and have the ability to hang it up. Now, let's talk about Happy Holidays. As something just made a noise downstairs. Never mind. This is a phrase that I use a lot during this time of year. I'm Jewish. I grew up Jewish. I am fully aware there's a lot of Merry Christmas that goes on. It doesn't offend me if I'm in a store and somebody says that on the cashier on the way out. I get it. My response is almost always Happy Holidays. And I think of so many I think especially of so many families that celebrate lots of things this time of year. I'll start with my own sister. We grew up Jewish. She is married to someone who had a mother and a father who was Jewish, never really grew up with the religious aspect to their lives. They had a Christmas tree growing up. Had nothing to do with religion. It had to, his family just liked the collecting of ornaments and putting it out each year. And so when they got married, and there's conversation, but they have a Christmas tree in their house. And, even calling it a Christmas tree. Well, their kids get Hanukkah presents and Christmas presents. And I know that's a family, it's not alone that does things like that. So again, this comes from the spirit of what I would say and what I do say this time of year. But do I know that not everyone would hang something that says Happy Holidays in their house? No. So that is why I have also charted out Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. You get all three charts in this design. I only stitched the Happy Holidays one, but fully aware that it doesn't work for everybody. So the same alphabet and everything, and it's just the Happy Hanukkah is the exact same size. Merry Christmas is just a little bit, one letter longer. Again, I stitched it vertically so that I could hang it on this little strip of wall that's like between two doors, and perfectly for this size thing. You could go across. You could write some vertical thing. Doesn't matter. And again, you get all three of those. Now, what did I stitch with? I used DMC Etoile. And I don't know, it's hard to capture it on video. DMC Etoile has a little shine to it. It has a different texture. You kind of have to get used to stitching with it. But the colors it comes in all correspond to the regular DMC colors. So for example, the red that I used here, its official number is C816, but the DMC, the regular cotton floss equivalent, 816. So if you're not a Etoile, if you don't want to do it with shiny or sparkly stuff, or if you just don't have the access to it, I mean, yes, I wrote this out for you. The column of the DMCs, what the DMCs are, what the Etoiles are, and what the regular DMCs are, almost the same number. So I just loved a little decoration that brings in what I think of as a lot of the general holiday colors. Yes, there is what might be referred to as a Christmas green and a Christmas red, but adding in the blue and purple and the little pops of yellow, just to me, it's like the jewel colors. That's it, the jewel colors of this time of year. So if this is the kind of thing that appeals to you, or the idea of it, but saying Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah, we'll put links below. And because of the timing of this, I thought about this. I'm like, oh, whatever. If you buy it right now, it's on sale in my Etsy store through Monday. So if that interests you, go right ahead. The banding is, what is it called? Oh, it's from Witchell. It's like a Mill Hill banding. But that reminds me. So there's a chance tomorrow on Friday, Hoffman Distributing, where a lot of stores get their patterns from as a distributor. I've sent this and the other pattern I'm about to show you already to Hoffman, and it may be on tomorrow's list. They put out their new ones on Friday. It might not have made it there for this week. It'll be next week. But here's the thing. The copies that I sent there have a small error. And I will post this around. I don't even know how much this will affect people or not. The banding is 27 count, and I stitched over 2. So it's like 13.5 stitches per inch. And the width of it, as Witchell/Mill Hill calls it, is 3.1 inches. And when I went to type this, I had written model stitch 2/2 on pyramid antique white, and I wrote 2.7 inch wide stitch banding. So I used the 27 count, and instead my brain changed it to inches. Now, I am hoping that anyone who's interested in this, who gets one of those copies, will say, or their store owners perhaps will help. I don't think you can get 2.7 inches. I'm hoping that. I'm going to put it out now that I'm filming this and officially putting these designs out in the world. I will put it everywhere I can find. If you are purchasing from my Etsy store, I caught it when what was I doing yesterday or 2 days ago? Anyway, anything that's on my Etsy store is correct. So it's only the copies that went to Hoffman that will eventually trickle into your stores. And all I can do is put it out there on Instagram and on my website, on Facebook, now that I'm officially putting out the design. So, and obviously anyone, store owner or stitcher, could contact me and say, wait, I mean, the difference between a 2.7 inch banding, which I don't even know if it comes in anything comes in 2.7 inches, and 3.1 is about a half an inch. Anyway, I'm hoping it doesn't cause too many problems. So there you go. That is the first one. And then the second design for this time of year, I've done this before at times, is a Hanukkah design. And I know that there is obviously a much smaller population that celebrates Hanukkah, but even that population wants to do some decorating. And so many years, not every year, I put out something Hanukkah. And so this year, I decided to focus on dreidels. And so this is called Dreidel Rules. If you are unfamiliar, during Hanukkah, there is a game that is often played. It's a little spinning top. It's called a dreidel. When I was trying to get ready to do pictures and stuff, I was like, oh, I wish I had a dreidel or two to kind of put in a picture. And it's a little too early to find the Hanukkah. You could see, I found plenty of Christmas things, in the dollar store and Target and stuff. I couldn't find any Hanukkah stuff out yet. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to remember this year to pick up a dreidel or two so that if I do a Hanukkah design next year, I'll be all ready for a decorative picture. So the game of dreidel, you play with this little spinning top. It's got 4 sides. The 4 sides each have a Hebrew letter on it. Now, whenever it comes up, I'm with my family, we're playing dreidel, the kids, whatever. You could play with pennies, you could play with coins, you could play with M&Ms. You can, it's like whatever little things you want to play with. And inevitably, someone has to Google, wait a second, what means what again? So if you stitch this, you will not have to Google. If you hit on this Hebrew letter, it is called a nun, and it means you do nothing. If you hit on this Hebrew letter, it's a gimel, and you take all, meaning there's a pot in the center, and anything that's in the center at that point, you get to take it all. This letter is a hey, and it means you take half. So whatever's in the pot at that point, if there's 10 M&Ms, 10 quarters, you get half of them. And a shin means you have to put one in. And some families will have variations, but basically you start out with everyone putting into the pot some number. And it's one of those games that could go on forever. It's also like left, right, center that you could just keep playing until only one person has all the things. I think that takes much longer than left, right, center. But there you go. Rules for dreidel can also be found in my Etsy store at this time. All my designs, these two, as well as everything else, comes in 2 formats. I sell both paper copies that I can mail to you, or PDFs that you can do an instant download. Some details on this: it is stitched on 32 count country French linen from Witchell in the color latte. I discovered this fabric last year, whenever. I'm not a fan of Witchell linen. Everyone has their opinions on what kind of linens they like. But I saw this listing of country French linen, and I'd asked Witchell, what's up with that? And they sent me some. I'm like, wow, this is much softer. It has a different feel, and I forget the difference of percent. Maybe it has some cotton in it. I forget the percentage of what actually makes it different. I think it only comes in 4 colors. One of my needlework marketplace designs, Pinwheel, I used the country French linen for. I just like it. It's a good texture, a good color, and I don't know how else to describe it, especially on video. The threads. I used Threadworks threads, and I'm hoping you can see actually both the blue and the brown. It's a subtle variegation. I am a relatively new convert to Threadworks. I met, my apologies, I forget his name, at Nashville last year, and really got to see in person the full range. Like Weeks, like Gentle Arts, like any of these overdyed variegated thread companies, there are some combinations that are just too much of a variety for me, for stitching. And I'll just use the example, at least some or all these companies probably have a thread that has red, white, and blue in it, and it makes for a great patriotic thread. I can't picture how I would use that well. So there's other sort of very stark contrast ones, but there's also some very subtle variegated ones. Those are the ones I like. So I took this out to specifically talk about. So the blue, I stitched with this Threadworks thread. Their thread comes in 5-yard skeins and 20-yard skeins. So if you're doing something that like a monochrome. 20 yards at one time is great. This blue, you see it's blue. There are little tinges of purple in it. I just love it. Again, little bit of variegation goes a long way in my book. The Threadworks are known with numbers, and their system can be a little confusing because like the 5-yard skein of this same color would be 010248. So it's like, hopefully your LNSs who might carry it understand the system. But their threads also have names. They don't put the names on the label, so I think that's why people don't necessarily know that. But you could go on their website and find the name. And so when I was writing this out, the pattern, I wanted to include the number as well as the name. And so the brown is called Brass Hardware. The yellow, the yellow is called Brass Hardware. The brown is called Toffee Brown. And then comes the blue. So I couldn't find the blue listed. I knew it was it. So I emailed, and it turns out it was a new for 2024 color. And I know I'm not good at keeping my website up to date. So he told me the name, Concord Grapes. Now, I don't know about you. When I hear Concord Grapes, I think purple. Not a crazy, definitely it's got a bluish tinge to it. And if you Google Concord grapes, you will see grapes that are anywhere from a sort of a deep purple to a bluish purple. Absolutely. And actually, I meant to grab this. I was looking at just if I were to kind of translate the name Concord grape into DMC, these are the purples that I came up with. This is 54, 38, 34. Your opinion. I put Concord grapes, well, anyway. It also stood out to me, okay, going back to Hanukkah design and Jewish. If you're Jewish, you will get this. I grew up in a family that my parents weren't big wine drinkers, weren't drinkers much at all. But especially on Passover, you have wine to be a part of the Seder. And like many other good Jewish families, what kind of wine would we have? Monoshevitz. It's the brand name. And I don't know, I know of two flavors. One is called Extra Heavy Malaga, and the other one is called Concord Grapes. And the Concord grape one, I know, has a label with like purple looking grapes on it. So when I read his email with Concord Grapes, I was like, really? Anyway, it is very much, to my eyes, a blue with a few little places of leaning a little bit toward purple. I love it. And it's like some of the other threadworks, especially the Merlot that I used for my pinwheel design that came out of Marketplace. And I'm looking forward to using some others of theirs. And like everything else, if you don't have access or you are not interested, you can use any threads you want. I put some DMC approximates as I could approximate it as best as I could. I'm looking at my little list here. Like I said, there's not much. The big things being a sale and a couple of new holiday-related designs. I did want to mention this. I've put it on my Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere I can put it, but let me say it to you all. Like I said, a few weeks ago, came out with 324, the sequel. And this was a follow-up design to my original 324. This one being all same 324 DMC colors, but this one all specialty stitches. And like what happens, despite having people look it over and check everything for me, once people start stitching, some errors are found. And in the grand scheme, well, you tell me how big or not this is. So some of these squares use French knots. Some people don't do French knots. They'll skip them. No problem. Each square, stitching-wise, is repeated 4 times. So in each kind of like quadrant, and I should have brought, it's not up here. Oh, it's downstairs. I should have brought it up. Anyway, like the square that is right in that upper corner is the same stitching, different colors, but the same stitching like about there. And the same there and the same there. So 4 times. When I was charting it all, obviously I was charting one quadrant, 1 quarter, and when I felt like everything was all in good, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste 3 times to lay it all out. For whatever weird reason, the French knots didn't copy over. I don't understand. Don't understand it. And that was originally it was pointed out to me with somebody who noticed it with two squares, and then I looked and I saw, wow, none of them copied over. So if you have already purchased, pause. I came out with an error sheet, and that's all right. I don't have it printed out. If you purchased before November 1st, I have one little list, straightforward sheet. I will link it below. It's on my website. If you go on my Instagram and go into my link tree, there's a direct link there. It's not much, but if you want to get the French knots correct, I shouldn't say correct. You do however you want. If you want to do the French knots as I did the French knots, and you purchase the pattern before November 1st, take a look, follow the link below. November 1st, I changed the file on Etsy. I changed my own file. It's all good. So if you've purchased since then, or if you're purchasing now because of my sale, you're all good. Ignore this whole thing. But it was kind of bizarre how that happened. And I know the program I use, MaxStitch, which is great, and they are relatively speaking, constantly doing updates for even the littlest things. Because when I tried to do that now, the French knots copied over. So all I could think is one of the updates in the last few months, maybe that was something that got addressed. Anyway, we all make mistakes, we all make errors, and the big deal, or the most important part is, what do you do to respond to them? And that doesn't just apply to cross stitch, that applies to every other part of my life and your life and everybody's life. So, the last little thing I have on here, I was going to do a little preview of something. So I just finished a design. It'll be a Nashville release. You're not going to get to see it, but here's the fabric I used. This is a Weeks Dyeworks fabric. I meant to look up. I'm pretty sure the color is garnet. It's not Aztec red. I'm pretty sure it's garnet. And if I told you or shared with you that this was in my orc container that I cleaned out, and it was only this, i.e. only white threads, perhaps if you know my work, you know what this is going to become. And did you guess? You might have just gotten a little taste of it right there. It's sitting on a hoop because I'm trying to stretch things out a little bit. But there was something else related to that. Oh, I know. So, it's interesting as a designer, the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm just about to wrap this up. I had something to talk about today of sale and new designs. But so many times I want to come on and have a conversation with all of you. But almost all the time, I'm not sharing what I'm currently stitching on, because they're going to I stitch my own models, and they're going to be designs that I'm going to release. There's one of them sitting over here. Like I said, that one's finished and it's just sort of stretching. And I have another one going on downstairs. And they all will be Nashville releases. And so it's just an interesting thing to think about. I know many designers will do little preview pictures. Last night I started a new thing, and if you look at my Instagram, I put a post about orange threads, and you just see the first few stitches. But I, like most others, don't really share the process until it's done in a big reveal. And I get, that makes sense. But I also think about the sequel design, which when I started stitching it, I wasn't intending to create a pattern for it. It was just for me, and it was fun to share. But because I was sharing it so much, it built the enthusiasm for it. How would it have been different if I had just been, hinting for months, I'm working on something new, and then shared it at that time? And I also think about a design I did. It was in 2020. I started it on February 29th, 2020. Thought it would have taken much longer than it did. So in a lot of ways, it was my lockdown project. But because I don't even know how consciously I was or was not. I was sharing the progress of that. I knew I'd put it out as a design. And there was enthusiasm building all the time with it. So it just kind of makes me wonder, especially when I'm working on a large design, how different would a response be if I was posting sort of progress to the point that you could really see more than a little, few stitches or some things blurred out? I don't know. It's not really what's done. I just it's just something I've thought about, particularly because the sequel. Then again, the sequel is such a different design. I am thinking most of the people who are watching this are cross stitchers. Most of the people that come to Flosstubes are looking for cross stitch. Now, lots of folks share their knitting and their quilting and their other things, their passions, the things that bring them joy. And I have shared in the past that I don't just do cross stitch, i.e., the sequel. I'll do different types of stitching. Um, but anyway, just something I was thinking about. As of right now, I'm not planning to show off major portions of my Nashville designs. We'll see. So that's really all I had for today, folks. Short and sweet, which hopefully means this won't take too long to upload to YouTube. Links will be below. General link to my Etsy store. Everything on sale. 20% off now. Well, through Monday, November 18th. Whenever you're watching this, if it's after November 18th, oh well. But through November 18th, Monday, November 18th. Two new designs, which just because of the timing, if you get them in the next few days, you'll get them on sale. As always, I thank you for your support. It means a great deal to me. Support whether you're purchasing something or just simply being here and watching, hitting the like button, subscribe, leaving a comment. Those are the kinds of things that if you do it for every floss tuber that you watch, it just helps get them out there. Because you never know when you're going to find, I never know when I'm going to find somebody new that I just connect with. So I hope you all have a great few weeks. Thanksgiving is coming up for those in the U.S. Take good care of yourselves. Till next time.